Hello and welcome to freelywhole Creative. I'm Liberty, your creativity and life restoration coach from freelywhole.com, where we're making beauty from ashes. Today's project is a page layout in my She Created a Life She Loves journal. Come on in and join me for the creative journey, and let's get started. Today's make is going to be a layout on a page in my She Created a Life She Loves journal. And this is actually going to be my first page in this journal. I don't want to cover up this beautiful paper, so it'll go on the neutral side, reverse side of that paper. And my inspiration for this is a stamp that I have. Life is art. Paint your dreams, sing your songs, enjoy the dance. So this is going to be kind of a creative page. So the supplies that I'll be using in this, in addition to the stamp, are another stamp from Julie Nutting Planner Stamps, the little artist girl, and I'll be stamping those both with Distress Archival Black Soot ink. The papers I'll be using in this project are a little strip of tea-dyed paper, a scrap of white cardstock, scrap of black cardstock, some Bristol Smooth paper, and some mixed media paper. This project will be heavy in die cuts. I'll be using several Tim Holtz dies. This one is the Vault Picture Show. I'll be using a couple different pieces out of that one. I'll be using the alphabet out of the Vault World Travel. I'll be using this Bo Bunny alphabet called Triple Play. And I might be using this Tim Holtz alphanumeric tiny type lower. To color in my designs, I'll be using several of my Distress watercolor pencils. I'll show you which colors I end up using later as I get to that part. And I'll also be using several of my Distress paints, at least these colors and a few others. Other than that, I think the only other supplies I'll be using is my Distress Collage Matte Medium, a paintbrush, my die cut machine. Most of my pieces will fit through my little sidekick, but I'll have to use my big die cut machine for a couple of them. And I think that's about it. So whether you want to create something close and similar to what I'm doing and have some of the same supplies, or if you've just taken some inspiration and going your own direction today, go grab your supplies and join me on this creative journey. Okay, I got all my die cutting done. I did the little Viewmaster wheel. I've got a solid backing and then the front piece with the cutouts. But I saved the little white cutouts because I'm not going to leave those black like you would normally see, but I'm going to color those and inset them. I cut out the film strip in both black and white. I won't need the white one, as I'm going to put the white ones as inserts into the black ones. I cut out the words create and beauty with the World Traveler die, and I cut those out of mixed media because I'm going to paint each of those letters. I cut out art twice, as I want a black frame around colored insides of the letters. Again, the insides of the letters I will use the paint to color in different colors to spell the word art. So I'm going to go do the painting of those. I will be back to tell you what colors I used and show you what I did. And I'll probably go ahead and do my stamping too, and I'll be back. This is the optional lettering that I'm not sure if I'm going to use or not yet. Mixed media paper. I'm going to adhere those down so they don't shift around as I cut them, and run them through my Sidekick. Okay, I'm removing all the paper letters from the dies. Pretty fiddly, so I'm not going to make you watch all of that. But as I get them done, I'm going to put them on the sticky side of this washi tape to prepare them for painting so they don't wiggle around as I paint. Let's move on to the painting. And all of the letters for this part are just going to be in black, so I'm going to use my black soot distress paint for this. And just coloring over each letter, making sure to get the edges. Again, you don't have to watch this whole repetitious process. So I'll be back after I finish up all the painting and show you what all I did and the other colors that I used for the other elements. Okay, we'll set that aside to dry. And here's the rest of the elements, all colored and ready to go. I did the word art. I cut the outline of the letters with the black cardstock, and the insides I cut with the mixed media. And I used picked raspberry, wild honey, and broken china for the 3 colors for those letters. For the word create, I used dusty concord, worn lipstick, dried marigold, bundled sage, tumbled glass, and shaded lilac. For the word beauty, I used lumberjack plaid, mustard seed, rustic wilderness, mermaid lagoon, blueprint sketch, and villainous potion. For my little artist girl, I used my distress watercolor pencils, and I don't even remember what colors I used on her, but obviously it was a red and the black, and I used a brown for her shoes. I do know that I used tattered rose for her skin. Also, for my Viewmaster that I turned into a color wheel, I also used the Distress watercolor pencils. I don't remember which colors I used, but if I can come up with that, I'll post a still picture in the blog post that goes along with this. I did use a red orange, an orange, a yellow orange, yellow, yellow green, green, blue green, blue, blue violet, and purple in there. So I did make sure I had all areas of the color wheel covered. I just don't remember exactly which ones. As I said, I stamped both of those in the Distress Archival black soot, and I tore the edges of the paper for my wording. Okay, let's finish finish up with the coloring aspects, and then I'll lay everything out and glue it on. But I did find my list of what all colors I had used for my color wheel. So those were lumberjack plaid, ripe persimmon, carved pumpkin, fossilized amber, squeezed lemonade, crushed olive, rustic wilderness, peacock feathers, prize ribbon, shaded lilac, villainous potion, and seedless preserves. So those are the 12 colors that I used to form my color wheel. While we're at it, talking about using the Distress watercolor pencils, I thought I would show you how I use them for painting. I am not a colorist, I am not a painter, I don't do a lot of shading. I'm really pretty basic, but I'll show you how I do it. And I take a wet paintbrush, grab some color from the pencil, and add it into my picture. The first layer is going to be a little bit wetter, and that's going to kind of get things laid down in a starting base for us so that the color will spread well. I use mixed media stock for this. You want a stock that can handle the wetness here. And I use the archival ink to stamp with because you want something that's permanent and isn't going to bleed when you start putting the water onto it. And be sure to let that ink dry well before you start painting. Again, any shading that I do is strictly by how much water I'm adding to the color. And I just pick up more water when I need to, and more of the watercolor pencil pigment when I need to. So that's it, pretty basic. Okay, let's go on to the next thing I decided to do. I decided to add just a little bit of color into the background. I want to tie this page that has nothing to do with creating an art on it into the creative idea, inspiration of the composition there. So I'm going to do a little bit of second generation stamping. So because there's some textured things behind there, I'm going to put a piece of cardboard behind that page to make it a little bit smoother. And because I don't want anything real bold and standing out on this page, I'm going to do a second generation stamping, meaning I'm going to stamp the color off on a different paper first and then stamp it here so that it'll be lighter. And I'm going to use the little ink splotch that is part of the planner stamps where my little artist girl came from. And I'm going to use some primary colors and maybe also add a little bit of brown into that. So let's add some color to this page. Stamp off and stamp a light version onto the page. I'll start with just a couple impressions of each color and see how that goes. Okay, I think I'll add a couple of brown ones in and then decide if I want another one of each of the colors. I'm also trying to take into account where there will be complete coverage by elements that are going to be put on there. And I do think I'm gonna go with one more of each of the colors at least. And maybe another one or two of the vintage photo. I think I'll stop there, and once I get everything laid out onto there, we'll decide if I need any more. While I'm working with the inks here, I want to ink up the edges of this page just to add some definition. And I want to do the same, inking up the edges of my saying here, just to give it some definition when I put it on the page. And I already did my color wheel. I inked the edges of that with the black. And I decided I did not want to ink the edges of my little girl. She's got the little bit of white border around from me fussy cutting her out. I did find one more piece that I think I'm going to add. I had stamped out several sentiments quite a while ago with the archival ink onto tea-dyed cloth. And I think I'm going to use this one as a little tab on the side. But I'll be back to show you the complete layout in just a flash. Okay, I'm back after getting everything onto the page. I did make a couple more additions than what I had shown you before. The first is I printed out a label to put the letters for Create on. And for that, I used the Tim Holtz die vintage labels and inked that with the Villainous Potion archival ink. I also added Take Time to Create from that same stamp set of the planner stamps by Julie Nutting, and used that same Villainous Potion archival ink. So let's take a look and review the whole page. Do you ever think you don't have time to create, or that it's not worth it and it just gets put off and put off? That is what inspired this page, that she decided she was worth it, that life is art. I can paint my dreams, I can sing my songs, I can enjoy the dance, and I can take time to create. The letters that create the words on this page are from various Tim Holtz and Bo Bunny alpha sets, from the World Travel Vault World Travel by Tim Holtz, the Triple Play by Bo Bunny, and the alphanumeric tiny type lower. The die that created the elements there is from Vault Picture Show for both the Viewmaster and the film strip. The stamp that created the sentiments is Life is Art by Stampendous. The Artist Girl and Take Time to Create and the splotches in the background are from Julie Nutting planner stamps put out by Prima. This is called Craft Day. The die that the word create is on is Vintage Labels, again from Tim Holtz. The stamping is all done in Distress Archival ink, as I said. Villainous Potion for the purple and Black Soot for the black. That's on those three pieces. She decided she was worth it, I believe is a Dina Wakley stamp. I don't have that one out. That was something from my stash. And all the coloring in was done with Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils, paints, and Distress inks. I hope you enjoyed my creation today, and I hope you created along. Thanks for joining me on this creative journey. I hope you were inspired and that you'll subscribe, like, and comment here, and share my channel with your friends, as well as sharing your creations with us. We want to see your take on this. The links are in the post. Now, go make beauty from ashes, and may your life be freely whole.